Hey, everybody. Today, our guest is Casey Bonanno. And before we get started, let me introduce her. Casey is a registered dietitian who specializes in supporting individuals healing their relationship with food and body. Casey has over a decade in the field of eating disorders and disordered eating. She runs a group practice with two locations, one in Dallas and one in Austin. In these locations, they are open for in-person appointments, and they also treat clients virtually as well. Thank you so much, Casey, for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yes. So the first question that I always ask people is, what is your definition of balance?
Yes, kind of the whole point of the podcast, right?
Yeah.
I think my answer might be different than people expect, and I'll kind of explain, but I thought about this question a lot, and I think my answer is my idea of a balanced life is living within my values and priorities.
Hmm.
Because I think that when we think about balance, we think about, okay, is my energy divided up equally amongst all of the things like family, work, taking care of myself, taking care of others? And I think that depending on the season of life, it can't always be exactly that way. Sometimes other things have to be the priority. And I think as long as you're living within your values and your priorities, that would create joy and contentment. And I think that's really what balance is.
Yeah, that's a great definition. Yeah.
So broad. And I just think, I work with a lot of women and moms, not solely, but mostly.
Mhm.
And I think everyone is always striving for
Mhm.
balance. And I think
Yeah,
that depending on the phase of life, that balance might look different
absolutely.
than maybe what we would really want it to be, even.
Hmm.
And that's okay, because
Yeah,
that's just like right now I have small children. So my balance
yeah.
looks very different than it will likely be in a couple of years,
Oh,
So
yeah.
things have to take the
Yeah.
back burner because I have small kids, some like I have to stop working sooner. So things shift, right? But that's my current balance.
Yeah. What has helped you move past having a mindset of like, this is what I expected versus the reality?
Oh gosh, radical acceptance. It's just like,
Yeah.
well, that's just not just like it is what
Hmm.
it is, and I have to roll with
Yeah.
it. And for me, a little bit of that is that loss of the control of it, right?
Hmm.
Of there are certain aspects of this that I can't control, and there's
Yeah.
absolutely nothing I can do about it. And so
Hmm.
I just have to accept that, and I can be uncomfortable with it and not like it, but it still is
Yeah.
the reality of it, right? That's been a lifelong journey. But I think the message is changing and getting louder, that like
Hmm.
expectation versus reality and that sort of thing. So I think that I've had a lot of good examples. I have
Hmm.
friends and sisters who are walking through that
Oh,
with me, and it's good to have people echoing that message. And obviously, like, you still get caught up
hmm.
in it, right? Of like, I expected something to be like this and it was disappointing because it
Yeah.
wasn't, or that
Hmm.
sort of thing. But just really trying to like check myself with that too, because I think that
Yeah.
that also makes you miss stuff
Hmm.
that you don't realize. Like, yeah, my expectation was this, but like this aspect of this way was great, kind of
Yeah.
thing. So trying to just like appreciate and have gratitude for things in the moment, which is like sometimes very hard. But
It is
just keep
hard. It is
trying,
hard.
just keep trying.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right.
And if you're listening now and thinking like, well, I wish I could be better at noticing the gratitude and that, go check out episode 2 where that is
Ooh,
exactly what
perfect.
we talk about.
Okay, great. Yes.
So I'm glad you brought this up in terms of like having to change some stuff around, and like the acceptance.
Mhm.
No, I'm stumbling over that word. But yesterday I was just talking to someone, and I had brought this up of like expectation versus reality. We had this expectation maybe of having this specific routine, and their response to me was, well, so then I should I not expect to be able to brush my teeth? And I'm like, no, that's not what I meant. Yes, you should brush your teeth, but maybe the expectation of when you're going to brush your teeth needs to change. And
Yes.
so it's thinking about things
Flexibility.
like that. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
for
You're
sure.
probably not going to have the perfect routine where you get the kids to bed every night, especially when just things are going not not the norm. Like if there's
Yeah.
a lot of unexpected things that have happened maybe within the week and everyone's tired and more irritated, the nighttime routine is probably not going to go as well.
Yes.
So finding a different time to brush your teeth, maybe while the kids are still watching their last show, or if your partner is reading a book to them, brush your teeth then
Yeah.
instead of waiting for everyone to be in this like calm state, because that might not happen. And that's when we
Oh,
realize like, oh, I didn't brush my teeth today because we fell asleep trying to get our kids to sleep.
right, 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 right.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, routine. I always say routine is amazing
Hmm.
and so necessary, but it becomes a problem when we can't do anything but that and then feel
Hmm.
anxious outside of that routine, right?
Yeah.
There has to be
Hmm.
like some like plan A, B, C, D, E.
Yeah. Or even just a routine that is more flexible.
Yes, yes. Like here's like all the things that need to get done, but they can like move.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they can get
Or
rearranged.
yeah, or even maybe having a routine that you could still do even if you only had 15 minutes to do it versus the whole
Yes,
hour.
abbreviated.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, we're gonna do the abbreviated routine. Yes, we do that a
Yes, it's
lot. Especially like when we have different things, like if we're like at an event or doing something
Mhm.
with the family, like before bedtime, it's like we
Yeah.
get home and we do abbreviated abbreviated routine. Yes, yes.
Yes, yes. So my son really, he really loves his routine, right? One of his expectations is I get to relax, and his relax is just kind of chill out and watch his YouTube videos. He's
Mm-hmm.
he's 8, by the way, but he
Okay.
likes this. He likes to watch his YouTube videos, and that's his relaxation before we go to bed. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes there's just not enough time. Like you said,
Yeah.
like on Wednesday, we were at a school event that just
Yes.
took long because it was a dinner fundraiser thing. And I had to be like, hey, bud, when we get home, we're already going to have to start our bedtime routine, which meant that his relaxing YouTube time was in the car on the way to the
Yeah.
house. Because once we
Yes.
got home, it was brush teeth, read stories, and go to bed.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So
Yes,
figuring those things out.
my son is almost 3 and similar. He wants to watch a show, is what he
Yeah.
says, at least one
Hmm.
before bedtime, the whole shebang. So
Yeah.
we've done sometimes he'll be okay without it, but we'll do like 5 minutes of show.
Yeah.
Then,
Mhm.
while we're doing the baby stuff with my
Mhm.
youngest, it's like, well, I get
Yeah.
her set up. You can watch the show. I'm going to put on a timer, and then do
Yeah.
the whole shebang, like trying to find that middle ground within the routine,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, because sometimes it just can't happen the way we want it to happen, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So one of the reasons I was excited to have you on was because you work with a lot of women and moms who struggle with body image, and I know that's a big topic all the time. How do we accept ourselves for who we are now instead of waiting to have this, idealized version of ourselves to be happy?
Right. Right. Yeah. And I think that everyone, not just moms, anyone in this world
Hmm.
really can relate to having some body image thoughts,
Yeah.
concerns of some sort. I think sometimes people are surprised, like, oh, a dietitian and body image. But I mean, it's so intertwined with our relationship with food and movement
Hmm.
that over the years, just become like a body image expert too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just kind of the nature of the field that I'm in. And I think there's so many different things that we can talk about. I think everyone expects to either do X, Y, or Z and get to this body that they think will solve everything. It's like, I will feel better. I will do X. I will do Y. I will be confident. I will, I don't know, be attractive, be accepted, all of those things. So I always really want people to ask why. If you lose weight and get this ideal body or whatever, right? Tone, exercise, whatever it is, right? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? What is it going to give you? Because yes, it will give you a smaller body, and people will be like, well, I like the way I look. I'm like, okay, but people of all sizes like the way they look. So like, why this version? Where did that idea come from? Where does this idea of why is this the ideal? Right? Like, how did you get that message? And like, what is it going to give you? Because that's really what we're craving.
Yeah.
Right. Sneak peek. Usually it's love and acceptance.
Yeah.
Usually that at the core of like, I want to love me and accept me. And I think, it's a very like concrete way to get love and acceptance. But usually, like if you're in a certain body and that's why someone loves and accepts you, that's conditional. And that's not ultimately really what we want. We want unconditional love. We want unconditional acceptance, right? And I think that sometimes that is really the core issue of unconditional love and acceptance of self. And like, I'm looking for something external to do that for me because I can't do that for myself.
Yeah.
And then I send them to you to work on that.
Yes.
That's your territory, right?
Yes.
But really asking like, what is this ideal body going to give you? That's the root of it all, right? And also sneak peek, you never get it. Like you might get a little bit of it, but it doesn't fix everything. Like it doesn't solve anything. It just, and if it's not sustainable, it's not like if you do it in a way that you cannot sustain, you will just gain the weight back, or you'll stop the workout or whatever, and you'll get back to where you were plus some. And that's what people don't realize in terms of like weight science. If you are forcing your body to be in a deprivation at a lower weight than your body should be, it's not going to be able to stay there long term. It'll stay there for a moment in time, whatever. You might be able to sustain it for a long time, but the research is really only, I think they only follow clients for 5 years, and the percentage is still very low, but we don't know beyond 5 years if people are able to sustain. So if you do anything extreme, you're not going to be able to sustain it. And then you're back to where you start. And not even really a complete body issue, right? It's deeper than that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I'm really glad that you use the term like where your body is supposed to be at. If you're trying to get your body to a place where it shouldn't be at, or it's not, where your genetics supposed to be at, or even stage of life supposed to be at, like it's not gonna like it. You're not gonna feel good in that state. And I think like as moms, when you first have baby and you still have all of this extra weight or stuff going on, it's there for a reason. It's there to protect you and keep you safe, but we're trying to like lose it, or if I could just get this baby weight off, then I'm going to be a better mom, or I'm going to be a better caretaker. But that's not true.
No, it has nothing to do with your ability. I know that I think that it's, kind of like the bounce back mentality, right, is really strong in our culture. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like it is protective. And why would we want to get rid of that sooner than we need that? And also, I mean, there is so much that goes on. It's very interesting when I ask people kind of weight history, like, what's your lowest? What's your highest? Like, what
Mm-hmm.
do you think? I always like, well, what do you think you should be? Or what's your like goal? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, how'd you come up with that? And
Yeah.
lack of like science behind that answer, people are
Uh-huh.
like, oh, it just sounded good. Most of the
Yeah.
time that's the answer. Or they'll be like, well, sometimes there is like some reasoning, but it is
Mm-hmm.
so amazing when I ask, like, when's the last time you were that weight? They're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I was 15. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
automatically not an appropriate weight for you. Right. And
Yeah.
it's like, we don't realize that we shouldn't, even if like our body doesn't change drastically, we should not
Mm-hmm.
be the same weight we were when we were 15, 16,
Yeah.
20, 25, 35. People don't realize that the actual gradual increase in weight over your
Mm-hmm.
lifespan is protective. Like we should have
Mm-hmm.
some of that happening, right? And then obviously there are different things that influence changes in body. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
pregnancy, having children definitely
Yeah.
will change things up. But like we're not supposed to be the same weight for our whole life. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if people realize that.
Mm.
Probably not. I think a lot of people
No,
don't. Yeah.
I
So
don't think
it's
so. Yeah.
interesting. It's interesting when I say like, when was the last time you were that way? And it's always
Mm-hmm.
something, some age that's very young. And
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
maybe not a realistic expectation. And we can also like, hopefully all the listeners know that BMI is flawed and ideal body weight's flawed and all of that. So that's
Yeah.
why I say wherever your
Mm-hmm.
body naturally wants to be, because we all have this genetic set point weight that our body wants to be, and it's going to fight to try to be there despite what you do to it. And if you want more information about what I'm talking about, if you just type in set point theory, you'll get lots of stuff. And
Okay.
it can go more into the science of it and that sort of thing. But
Mm.
it takes into account that based on genetics and build and everything,
Mm-hmm.
like our bodies have a natural weight that it wants to exist at. And obviously we can
Yeah.
do behaviors that would make
Mm-hmm.
that go up and make that go down, but it has a range that would be kind of like its ideal place to kind of like homeostasis, I guess, if you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. So if someone is struggling with body image and the way they view themselves, what are some helpful ways to start working on that? Maybe they're not working with a therapist yet, but thinking about it, but they want to start doing some stuff on their own first.
Sure. So I think one, wear clothes that fit. Buy comfortable
Yes.
clothes, wear clothes that are the size that you currently are right now.
Mm-hmm.
It can be cheap stuff you buy from wherever. You don't have to spend a ton of money on it, because that's always something that people say. Like, I don't want to
Oh
spend
yeah.
money. I'm like, okay.
Or I don't have money to buy all this whole new wardrobe.
Right. It's like
Yeah.
you need a pair of like jeans. You need
Yeah.
a couple tops, like just a couple things. Because
Mm-hmm.
wearing clothes that fit will automatically take the attention off of your body. If you've ever
Mm-hmm.
sat in jeans that are just like a little too tight, one, it's uncomfortable, but it also draws your attention to the discomfort,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So I think step one, wear clothes that fit. Step two, there is a body image workbook, which I always
Okay.
recommend. You can just buy it on Amazon. It's literally called the Body Image Workbook. And it has a couple like quizzes to really like
Mm.
identify different types of body image concerns. And then it
Mm-hmm.
has different journal prompts and
Huh.
exercises. So that's great. You can do that on your own, kind of on your own time. I think sometimes if you're really focused on your like reflection in a mirror,
Mm.
I would say
Yeah.
minimize the time that
Mhm.
you're in front of the mirror. If there's a mirror in your bathroom, I wouldn't get undressed and stand naked in front of it before a shower. I would just get into the shower. I've had people even like not have the lights on and get into the shower. So like
Okay.
anything that you
Yeah.
can minimize the attention that you are giving
Mm-hmm.
to it so that you can do some of the work to change your
Yeah.
mindset. people
Mm-hmm.
always feel like body image is a physical thing. And I would say people probably think it's like 80% physical, 20% mindset. And I think it's opposite. I think it's really like 80% mental and 20% physical. Because obviously we want to feel comfortable in our body,
Mm-hmm.
but we want you to be able to look in the mirror and feel good, or actually not even feel good, just like not feel hate is really what we're going for. Again, back to expectations. Expectation is to look in the mirror and not think anything too critical. Like that's our goal, right? It's like we're not trying to love our body. We're trying to just feel neutral.
I
But
agree. Like I think a lot of people get stuck on that when they're doing work on body image because they have this idea that, well, I have to love my body. Like I have to be absolutely in love with it. And like, no, you might
no,
never absolutely love every single part of you. It's an unrealistic expectation.
yes,
Expectation is that you don't hate yourself. Like we
right,
want to lower the negative attention that we give ourselves.
right, right. What I tell my clients is I want you most of the time to feel nothing, to not really, not necessarily feel positive, but not necessarily feel negative. Just be like, this is my body, right? And then sometimes feel positive and sometimes feel negative. And when you feel negative, you have the tools and you're able to let that thought come and go and not do anything about it, because it's unreasonable to think that you're never going to have a negative body image thought or feel bad in your body, because sometimes we truly physically feel bad in our body, right? Like I'm bloated, I like my tummy off, whatever, right? So I think again with the realistic expectations of, I want you to be able to look in the mirror most days and think neutrally about your body. Occasionally have a positive moment, occasionally have a negative moment, and know how to deal with the negative moment.
Yeah.
So the other thing you can start to do is catching your thoughts when you are having that negative dialogue, kind of stopping and saying, you know what? We're not going to talk to ourselves like that anymore. Right.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's helpful to also try to focus on the function. So like if you're really focused on disliking your arms, like can you say something neutral? I mean, positive would be great, but can you say something at least neutral about your arms? Like my arms carry my children. They have value, right?
Yeah. And if you're struggling with coming up with something neutral, or if you're thinking like, what do you mean by neutral? Even just thinking something more realistic or more helpful.
Right.
Yeah.
Like someone gave an example of like the only thing that they could come up with was I have arms. And it's like, yep, that works, right? It can be that basic. Like I have arms. I have gratitude because I have arms, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, imagine the things you wouldn't, that would, or maybe not wouldn't be able to do, but would be so much harder to do
be
if you
more
didn't
difficult.
have
Exactly.
arms. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So it can be so neutral.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, trying to find that neutrality with the body. And then also, it's like, okay, well, this is the one that I've got, and I can spend the rest of my life hating it, or I can spend my energy on other things, because ultimately, like right now in this moment, there's nothing I can do about it. This is the body I have in this moment. And so I'm not going to let that stop me from doing X, Y, or Z. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
And
that's really helpful.
Yeah. And there's so many things that you can do that can help. I think what people are looking for is a magic pill.
Yeah.
And it doesn't exist. But I think weight loss and changing your body promises that.
Yeah.
But it never delivers.
No. Usually, I mean, I worked with, so many people who were even able to get to where they wanted to, or I want to say where they thought they wanted to be, right? And it still wasn't enough because they didn't change their mindset. They still didn't change the way they viewed themselves.
Yeah. You still hate yourself because you didn't change that part, right? Like you still don't like yourself, or think you're not deserving, or think you're, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, your body is smaller or more toned, more whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but you're right. You didn't change the core issue there.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what really it's about, is figuring out that core issue, that root
Hmm.
issue that is causing the distress for you.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's usually some sort of fear around it. I know sometimes with moms after having baby, they think like, well, my husband's not going to want me anymore because I look like this.
Hmm.
So it's more, that's more of the root issue, is this fear, like you said, right? What do you say? Love and
And acceptance.
acceptance. Yeah. That
Yes.
my husband's not going to love and accept me anymore,
Yeah.
or my
Yeah.
partner, and
Right. And
working through
so,
that.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I think also the body stuff is such a big distraction, because if you
Mhm.
think about like, oh, I just like need to lose some weight versus like my partner's not going to love me, like oh, I
Yeah.
just want to like need to lose some weight feels a
Mhm.
little bit more manageable than
Yeah.
dealing with the emotion and the fear of that,
Mhm.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Or, you know, in being able to internally validate that I am
Mhm.
worthy and I am deserving is a much bigger ask than like, I just need to work out and like lose a couple pounds, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I think like it makes a lot of sense why
Mhm.
our brains are like, oh, well, I'll just do that. Right? It's distraction, it's avoidance from the actual
Mhm.
root cause. And I think also people just don't realize, because of a lot of reasons, and our culture being one of them, they don't realize that like all the things that we're talking about, right? That it's not just a
Yeah.
body thing,
Mhm.
it's deeper than that.
Mhm. Yeah. And especially when we're not given space to talk about them,
Yes.
it can be
Yeah.
hard. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Especially with our partner,
Mhm.
right? Like that's an uncomfortable conversation for some, right?
Mhm.
But might be a good idea.
Yeah.
Might be helpful.
I do want to go back and talk about the finding clothes that fit you,
Yeah.
because that's a really big deal. And I think too often, us as women, we try and hold on to things,
Mm-hmm.
and or think like, oh, but when I fit into this one day,
Yeah.
when that only will continue to derail your goal to have a better view of your body.
Yeah. Yeah. I always tell people to get rid of the stuff that doesn't fit.
Hmm.
Have your closet be set up for the body that you have right now. Because yeah, I agree. Like if you have those clothes with the hope to fit into them someday, that's going to impact you mentally more than you realize. And it's going to
Hmm.
put you in a scarcity mindset. And that's not going to help the
Yeah.
journey that you're on. It
Hmm.
will make you do stuff with food, feel the work that you're trying to do. So I completely agree.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And
And
it'll just end up becoming this reminder of
mhm,
things that you don't even need to be reminded of. Because some
right.
people will see that, or some people have told me, like, oh, it's just a reminder of like, of me being a failure. When it's,
Mm,
you're not a failure, your body just can't get there anymore, and it
yeah,
shouldn't be there probably.
probably. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it's like it doesn't matter how much discipline, how much
Hmm.
motivation, how much whatever, right? Like your body, if it's not meant to be there, it can't be there. That's not your fault, right?
Yeah.
And that's like, I think with the diet world, it's like, oh, well, you didn't stick to the plan. Like you didn't do what we said and like whatever. It's
Yeah.
like, well, the plan was flawed, right?
Hmm.
Like I was never going to be able to stick to that plan because it's not sustainable. So then everyone
Yeah.
feels like the reason why they failed was because of them, and it's not you, it's you
Hmm.
were set up to fail. It's not
Yeah.
sustainable, right? Everyone's like, I don't have enough willpower. It's like, well, shoot, it sure takes a whole lot of willpower to go on 10 different diets, like start them all up at,
Yeah.
willpower is kind of like a bit made up, especially with diets, right? It's like
Hmm.
it doesn't matter how much willpower you have, the system is flawed. There was like something that came out about like the Weight Watchers had a big meeting or something, and they said that
Okay.
their ideal, and it was like leaked. Someone leaked the conversation.
Wow. Yeah.
It was something about like our ideal client comes back 3 times. It's like
Mm.
they're making money, guys. The more that you fail, the more money they make. Now
Mm-hmm.
they're like kind of in bankruptcy, about to be whatever, but which I'm thrilled about.
Yeah.
But yeah, like their ideal client comes back 3 times.
Mm.
It's not designed for you to succeed.
No. Yeah.
Like they
They
want your
want you to fail so they
they
can make
want
more money off you,
yes,
so that you can
yes.
continue spending money on their memberships and on their products. And I mean, whatever diet you're following, they're making money off you.
Yes, follow the money. Like
Yeah.
follow the money. Mm-hmm. That
Yeah.
will tell you if it's really you or that it's them. It's
Yeah.
them. It's them.
Uh-huh.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. But the way we're led is we're looking at everyone else around us and they're doing amazing. Why can't I?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, it's a lot easier to look like you're doing amazing than to
Yeah.
really be doing amazing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It is.
There's always something behind the curtain, right? Even if someone is
Hmm.
successful or doing something great or whatever, like there's just it's complex, right? It's just not that simple, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully you have some people in your life that you can be real with
Hmm.
and they're real with you to kind of show that like, yeah, it's not all like sunshine and roses, right?
Yeah.
Again, expectations, reality, like
Hmm.
that's
Yeah.
the theme of
That's the
this episode.
theme. Yes. Yeah, because you really do need that support of people who are actually going to be real and authentic with you and not sugarcoat things all the time, because that's not helpful. We need
Right.
to see real people. We need to see real bodies. We need to see
Yes.
real life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Social media hasn't helped us with that, but we need that
Hmm.
community where you can
Yeah.
just be real. And I know like sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, like you just got back from your trip. Like, how was it? And it was like the pictures looked amazing. And the
Uh-huh.
friend's like, oh my God, it was a dumpster fire. Like, you know, like
Yeah.
so was sick and this happened and this happened and
Yes.
whatever. It was like, okay, well, it looked really nice.
Yeah, that's so funny that you say that, because this is not a recent conversation, but a few years ago I was talking to a friend and she was like, "Yeah, we went to Cancun and I had the baby," and she had these like nice pictures. Like you said, she goes, "It was horrible. I never want to go back to the beach. The sand was everywhere and he just hated it and he didn't want
Yes.
to,
Beach
and
with a baby
my
is hard.
husband didn't help." Yeah.
I've done it. I would not suggest it.
Yeah, yeah. Like the beach is definitely better when your kids are a little bit older, or you go with the expectation that your kid might not like the sand.
Right. And you're gonna be like up at the hotel or like by the
Uh-huh.
pool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, expectations, right? Like just having
Yes.
to be, I think that's like one thing. So I have 2 kids.
Hmm.
First one I think was a learning curve with this specifically, and second one much better at it.
Hmm.
But like this mindset of openness of whatever is going to happen is going to kind of happen, and
Yeah.
I have to be okay with that, because like you said, that's a perfect
Hmm.
example of like I went to the beach thinking, oh my god, we're gonna have like a fun
Yeah.
beach, like what the, you know, and he like
Hmm.
enjoyed it for like 30 minutes a day, like total,
Yeah.
right? And then we went a year, maybe even 2 years later, and he loved it, right? But so
Yeah.
now it's just like you said, like
Hmm.
expectation that this child might not like the thing that
Hmm.
I think that they're gonna like,
Yeah.
and be okay with it. Like okay,
Hmm.
we're gonna be by the pool, right? And that's fun, right?
Yeah.
Like at least I'm not
Oh
at
yeah.
home, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes my expectation for travel with children is that I'm just taking care of my children in a different location. And it's a
Yes.
little less convenient. It's like
Hmm.
how I think
Yeah.
about traveling with my children.
Oh yeah, it's just like whatever, not that there's no boundaries, but they're a little bit more flexible.
Yes, yes. Yeah, a little
Yes.
bit more flies.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Especially if you're like traveling and it's a long travel, or they're in the car, they're cooped up, so they're going to have
Hmm.
so much more energy and
Yeah.
managing that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Schedule goes out the window.
Yeah. But I appreciate you coming on and talking to us. If you can talk more about your practice
Sure.
and what you do so that if people want to work with you, trying to figure out like, are they an ideal client and how they can reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have private practice here in Dallas and Austin, but we have virtual services too. We work with everything eating disorders, disordered eating, chronic dieting, body image, anything that kind of touches any of that. So if you feel like you're just kind of at a loss of what to do and you just feel out of sorts with your relationship with food, body, or exercise, we're a good fit. We're intuitive eating and weight inclusive. If you're not familiar with intuitive eating, I encourage you to look it up, and there is a book specifically called Intuitive Eating. It's a really good read. It's our overarching philosophy of how we approach things, but we work with all ages, all genders, all identities, and it's one-on-one. Sometimes we do groups, but it's mostly one-on-one counseling. It's very similar to like a therapeutic relationship with a therapist. We talk about what you eat, but we also talk about how you eat and why you eat and when you eat. And I think those are much more interesting questions than the what.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
So if you feel like you're an ideal client for us, you can find us on our website. You can schedule an appointment on our website, or you can give us a call. We have Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We have all those. You can also
Yeah,
find
so
us.
you even have Pinterest.
Yes, I have Pinterest. Yes. For both our Austin and our Dallas locations. If you Google us, you'll find us probably. But
Okay.
you also have the links. Yeah.
Yes, the links for all of this will be in the show notes for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Casey. And I look forward to talking with you again.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, of course.